you via our website, sedonachamber.com, and also remotely via social media, and we'll send it out in our e-bulletin. So please make sure you're using sedonachamber.com as a resource. That resource has lots of information for you about this loan, the application process, links, and a lot of information that will be helpful for you as you maneuver this process. So as we move through, I'd like to take a minute to introduce Yavapai County Supervisor Randy Garrison, who is with us today, who would like to give you a quick welcome. Randy, we're going to make sure you're on the screen. If you can share your, turn your video on and provide a welcome to everyone. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Is the video working? Oh, yeah, video should be working.
It's working. We see you.
Okay, great. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, 131 people. This is great. Really appreciate that you're all paying attention. You're all participating, and you're going to be part of helping everyone get through this process. It changes by the minute. A lot of the information you're going to get today, hopefully, will be helpful in helping you move forward with protecting your business, at least getting it solvent and keeping you alive. And if there's anything at all that I can do for you or the county can help you with, please reach out to me at District 3, that's a numeral 3 at yavapai.us. Send us your emails. We're in constant contact with the governor's office, with our senators, with White House staff, and with all the other resources out and about. So we can tend to get questions answered fairly quickly. Unfortunately, the answers change a lot because everything's changing by the minute right now. But you're going to have a lot of information today. It'll be overload. And so don't worry, everybody's in the same boat. But what is important is that you start a process of getting involved with going after these resources as quickly as possible, because as you can see, there's going to be a whole lot of people getting in line. So real quick, I wanted to give you an update on where we are with the county. We now have 9 cases in Yavapai County. 5 of those are in the Verde Valley. One positive test locally that when it was sent to CDC came back as a negative, but once it's on the books, they won't let you remove it. So we have 4 in the Verde Valley and 4 in the Prescott area. Of that, 7 cases were senior citizens, 2 are adults. All of them are travel related. There has been no community spread of this. They've all been people coming from somewhere else coming here, and were tested here. Talked with the hospital this morning. VVMC is running a drive-up testing center. I think they ran 21 or 24 tests yesterday. They still have resources to get at least through today, and those resources are coming down all the time. One of the rumors out there is that we're just not testing like we should be. The problem is we don't have the resources to test as much as we would like. But they had plenty of tests available. We have 2 or 3 different resources for those tests, different entities doing that. Spectrum's another one. So the people that need to be tested absolutely are being tested, but you pretty much have to have a doctor's report. You have to be in a certain class to be tested and be in an accepted class, I guess, that be a high-risk class. So not everybody that thinks they need to be tested needs to be tested. Just be diligent, and the most things you can do is just wash your hands as much as you can. Don't touch your mouth or your face, and social distance. You know, everybody's calling for closing the borders, stay-at-home orders. You can create your own stay-at-home order. You don't have to be told to stay home. If you don't feel like you want to be out in public, don't go out in public. You know, so with that, I want to share that that there's a whole lot of money being put out there and going to be put out there to help businesses stay afloat. One of the important things to remember through the presentation today is the federal government is really trying to avoid having the businesses send employees to DES and go through the unemployment process. So a lot of the Paycheck Protection Program and a lot of these economic harm programs are being put into place so that you can keep your employees employed and keep them on directly, which is a benefit to you as well as to them. So please take the information, be very diligent with reading through it. And if you've got any questions when it's all said and done, you're going to have a whole lot of resources here at the end of this presentation, and just feel free to reach out and ask any of us, and we'll try and push as much of this information forward to make it as easy to follow as possible for you. And I think that's about it. I will turn it back over to you, Jennifer, unless you got a question for me.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks for all the great work that Yavapai County is doing to keep us all safe. For those of you who entered the call late, just want to remind you that we will be recording this and it will be available on our website, sedonachamber.com, along with pushing it out via social media and on our website via our e-blast. So if you don't get a chance to keep all of the information handy, it will be all available to you after this call. For those of you who have questions, please feel free to include those in the chat box here. We'll do our best to keep you all updated and ask those questions as we go along. All of you have been put on mute, and we're also hiding your video. We do have 160 people on the call, so in order to manage the bandwidth, it helps if you turn your video off. So if I missed you, please make sure you turn your video off and also turn your audio off. It will help manage this call a little bit better. So with that, I'd like to thank the City of Sedona for all of their hard work in sharing information and becoming the experts that we need, along with the Small Business Development Center, to help you all through these times. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Molly and allow her to share her screen with you so that she can begin the presentation with the Small Business Development Center. Molly, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, can you hear me, Jennifer?
Yes.
All right, and do I have the ability now to share my screen, it looks like?
Working on
I'm getting there.
Getting there.
Nice.
Give me a second.
I have become, I don't know about people on this phone, but I am quickly becoming an expert at Zoom this week.
Okay, Molly. Thank you. You're now the host.
Wonderful. All right. Well, you know, now is the time we could probably all use a little bit of levity. So I have got a cheesy joke to share with everybody. And since everyone's muted, I'm going to assume they're all laughing, which is, what kind of jokes do we tell during a quarantine? And the answer is, we tell inside jokes. All right. So with that, I will introduce myself. I am Molly Spengler. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Sedona. We are working remotely, and we are working to serve our businesses right now. One of the things that we want to do, and a priority for us, is to help all of you understand if this is a right opportunity for you, understand if this is the right solution and opportunity for you to apply, and as well as help kind of virtually handhold you through maybe a one-on-one appointment, like through a Zoom video, where we can help you with your application and just answering some of those questions and preparing to apply. My contact information is at the end of this presentation. Please know that we're here to serve our business community, and we are standing at the ready to address your questions and help you get through this application process. I need to acknowledge, thank you so much for the Chamber for hosting this. And then I would really like to introduce Jerry Deniston, our SBDC Director, as well as our business analyst, Ruth Ellen. Those who are working on really helping our businesses with day-to-day update information as this process changes. So let me try to, do I have the ability to unlock them? Let's see.
I can unlock mine.
Oh, great.
Hi.
Great. Hi, Jerry. Jerry is not at the beach, but we all wish we were. Jerry, I'd like to, kind of turn it over to you. Jerry is our local, one of our local contacts for the Small Business Development Center, and is going to walk us through the SBA disaster loan. She is on probably the most amount of calls and receiving the information and the real-time updates of how this loan is changing. And I got to tell you, I've never seen the SBA work this hard in favor of our local businesses. Every change that occurs makes it easier and more accessible for our businesses. So with that, Jerry, would you mind, introducing yourself and what you do and how we can start going through this?
Sure. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center at Yavapai College. We have a team of 3 people. Right now, we have 2 vacancies that we are hiring for. So there is a job posting available on the Yavapai College website. Ruth Ellen is our full-time Verde Valley business analyst. And so she and I and Karen Eads, who's the other team member with the SBDC, are working diligently with all of our clients and the SBA and just everybody in the communities throughout Yavapai County to assist all of the small businesses in getting through this process to get access to working capital loans. And that's what we're going to go through. Who's eligible? We're going to go through some of the details about that. And I guess, Molly, if you wanted to forward the slides, we could start with this one. So this is a lot of content on this slide, but basically one of the changes that has occurred, and this is an economic injury disaster loan. So different from other disaster loans. So the economic injury disaster loan, the SBA has decided that anybody who was in business as of March 13, 2020 is eligible to apply. So that's a difference. It applies to any business that has fewer than 500 employees. What the loan is a 30-year fixed rate working capital loan, so it's 3.75% over 30 years. The interest starts accruing the day after the loan has been approved, but there's no payment expected until 1 year after the loan has been signed. So if you apply and receive the loan and all of that gets executed by June 30th, this year, you won't start making payments until July 1 of 2021. So it is designed as a 6-month working capital loan to cover your employees, your current expenses. It is not for expansion purposes. It is not to pay off existing loans. It is simply to cover your monthly expenses that you normally would be incurring on a regular basis. There's no prepayment penalty. If if after this you have the loan and a year or 2 years down the road, you have the funds and you want to pay it off, there's no prepayment penalty. There's also no obligation to accept the loan. I haven't heard that there's a minimum, but the maximum per business is $2 million. And there is an unsecured loan of $25,000. There's no collateral required. So if you just need something less than $25,000 to get you through the next 6 months, there's no collateral. It's just a very simple, straightforward loan. Anything over $25,000, the SBA is asking for collateral, but they aren't requiring it. So this is a new change as well. They're not looking at real estate, so they're not going to take a second or a third or a fourth position on your house. They're looking at furniture, fixtures, and equipment. If you don't have it, that is not going to prevent you from getting the loan. So the message is apply, regardless of whether you think you want the loan or need the loan, just apply. They will pull a credit report. They are not looking at your credit score. It will not ding your credit score. They just want to see that you have a credit history and that you have the ability to repay. The interest, I said, already accrues immediately, and there's no payment until 1 year. If you could go to the next slide, Molly.
And Jerry, I was just going to say, just for everybody's benefit, I'm collecting all of the questions. There's a lot of great questions, a lot of questions I think we have some pretty easy answers for. If they're not answered throughout the presentation, we will be addressing them at the end. So just keep firing them away, and we're going to do our best to collect them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've said some of this, but I just want to clarify. There's been some questions about, do we need to deplete our personal assets before we qualify for the loan? No, that is not the case with this economic injury disaster loan. You will probably be asked to fill out a financial statement. It's a simple document, but that is, again, just to see, do you have the ability to repay the loan? This is different also, there's no lender involved. This loan comes directly from the U.S. Treasury. Only SBA federal loan officers are engaged in the process with the applicant. Once you have applied, we are told that a federal SBA loan officer will be in touch within 3 to 5 business days, and then that loan officer will work out the details of the size of the loan with the applicant, and then whatever other documentation may be required that they may ask for. So any small business can, and that should be status, not statute, any small business status can apply. If you're a sole proprietor, you can apply. If you are run an online business from home, you can apply. If you are an LLC or an S Corp or C Corp, you can apply. As long as you are registered as a business and you have been in business as of March 13, 2020, you can apply for this loan. Do you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we do recommend, if you've got questions, please do register with the SBDC. There's a link, the link to register with the SBDC is yc.edu/SBDC. That gets you into our confidential database, and then we can work with you one-on-one, ongoing, and we can help you through the application process if you need to. We've done this with some clients where we actually host a Zoom call and we share a screen and walk them through the application process. So if you need that kind of assistance, we're here to help you do that. We're also working with existing clients who don't need a disaster loan. There are a few banks that are still funding regular loans. So we're here to help everyone. It is totally confidential between your SBDC analyst and you. We do not share that information with anybody. And then Sedona businesses can also work directly with Molly. She's been designated deputized, I guess I'll say, deputized for this purpose. Yeah. To assist businesses in Sedona as well.
Jerry, if I may, I just want to say, you know, we've already been doing this a lot with businesses. We set up an appointment, you know, where we just walk them through this. It is a little bit, I recognize it's awkward because, you know, this is a pretty intimate time and financial, we're talking about financial situations, but please know that even at, you know, at the city, we have ethical standards about confidentiality, but beyond that, I have signed the NDA, and so has our economic development specialist, Samantha Eve. So we stand ready to assist you in case, you know, the SBDC, you know, you're inundated as well right now with requests. So we're kind of serving as a branch of the SBDC to help our locals.
And we absolutely appreciate that, because you're right. We just, you know, the three of us can only handle so many clients a day. So it helps to have community resource partners that can also help and assist our local businesses. The loan, the place to apply for this economic disaster loan is that link right there that you see, disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. The SBA has streamlined the process. If you go to the next slide, Molly, we'll just walk through that.
And
yes.
I also wanted to just mention, you know, on the previous slide, while it's not a requirement to be a client of the SBDC, this certainly isn't something that our businesses need to do, but I feel like it's akin to a local banker. So would you rather have a local person that you can talk to and know, and that's going to advocate for you from the inside? Because when you do apply for this loan, it goes into the SBA world, and you're going to have a contact with somebody possibly in Sacramento, and they're going to be working hard on this loan. But if you have problems, you can rely on our SBDC, our Ruth Ellen and Jerry, who have access, better access than, city employees and the chamber employees do, to advocate on your behalf. And so it's just nice to have that local presence. And then frankly, once you do get that loan, working with the SBDC, then you can start planning beyond just being reactive. You can start looking a year out and how your business is going to recover, and how you can grow out of this, out of this current recession.
Right, exactly. Thank you for that, Molly. Absolutely. We'd love to be working with everybody. So when you do apply for the disaster loan, economic injury disaster loan, now there are only two application forms that are required to submit the application. It's that loan application form 5 if you are a business, and it's form 5C if you are a sole proprietor. But the form 5 is for LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps. If you need it in Spanish, they also have it in Espanol, so you can also apply in Spanish. And then the other one is the form P-019. That is a very simple form. We have all the paper forms, so if you, the SBA would prefer that you apply online, but it's slow. I mean, there are so many people across the country that are accessing that website that it may take a long time to wade through that. So the other option is to use the paper forms, and you can email them to disastercustomerservice@sba.gov, or you can mail them to Fort Worth, Texas. So there are alternatives to applying online.
Jerry, is
yes.
the federal government, are they working on improving the capacity? I mean, this is kind of a system-wide. Are they working on improving
well, I
that
think they
capacity,
probably are.
the
website was actually down on Wednesday most of the day for maintenance, and so it's probably going to go down periodically. And in that process, that's probably what they're doing, is trying to increase the bandwidth and the capacity of the site, because this is unprecedented. This is nationwide. Every state in the union plus the territories that have access to the disaster loan. So
some of the questions on here right now are, can somebody in the village of Oak Creek, is this available to them in broader Yavapai County? To that point, this is a nationwide program. So that further explains why those systems are overloaded right now. So somebody applying from Sedona might be logging on while somebody on Maine is doing it at the same time.
Exactly. And that, the statewide access, only that authorization came through last Thursday. So this has all happened within a week, right? Up until Wednesday of last week, the state of Arizona was not declared an economic disaster area. That's why we were asking for all those economic injury worksheets, because we were trying to prove the point, sending those over to Governor Ducey so that he could declare the state of Arizona an economic injury area, the entire state, because until then, only certain counties that bordered Utah, New Mexico, and California could qualify. But once he did that, and then he applied to the SBA for assistance, and the SBA approved the state of Arizona on Thursday, that opened up the opportunity for everybody in the state of Arizona and everyone in Yavapai County.
Jerry, real quick,
Yes.
A couple things I wanted to point out from Senator Semina's comments yesterday is, one is because I see the chat coming across, is these loans are open to nonprofits,
yes,
as well as all the forms. So I want to make sure our nonprofits know to get in line as well. And the second thing is it's going to ask you when you're filling out those forms for an amount, and put in what you need to get you through the 2 weeks or whatever it is. But that loan amount can be changed right up to the time of accepting the loan. So if this gets drug out and you're out of business 8 weeks instead of 4 or 2, you're going to be able to increase that amount right up to the time you take that loan, because they're really wanting you to make sure you're going to be able to cover payroll at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks.
Right, and it is a working capital loan for 6 months. So calculate what your 6 month expenses are going to be, and include that. With the new streamlined form, I can't remember if there is a box anymore to put that information in, but just have it ready, because that will be information that the SBA loan officer will be covering with you. So that's the other thing that we're recommending. Even though there are only 2 forms right now, you probably will be asked to fill out Form 4506T, which is an IRS form that authorizes the SBA to contact the IRS and pull your recent tax return. You will probably be asked to also fill out a personal financial statement. And so it's good to have those forms, download them, and have them ready, because the loan officer is probably going to ask you for those. If you go to the next slide, please.
Sure. Oh, I wanted to mention, I've seen some of the chat come through, and I wanted to just remind everybody, and maybe this is a good time to talk about some of the rumor mill that's going on. There is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of legislation that hasn't passed. There's some that, so there's just information that's simply not accurate out there. This loan that we're discussing today is in effect and is moving forward, and that's why we're giving you the definitive answers out there. There's a lot of questions about a forgivable loan and some of those things, and we can, you know, maybe we can probably touch on that on the next slide a little bit, but right now, this is moving forward. People are applying and people are getting approved currently. Correct, Jerry?
They are. Yes, that is happening. And it'll take 3 to 5, they're saying 3 to 5 business days. You know, the SBA is hiring. They don't have enough people to process all these applications. So that's the other thing. They're looking for people. But in some cases, there is a button. I think we're going to go to a page, as one of the slides that has the form. There should be a slide that has where you, maybe we didn't include that in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to that web page, you'll see right in the middle of it, like 3 big round buttons. The left ones, the middle one says apply online. The one on the right, and I don't remember what color it is, but the one on the right says check the status of your application. I recommend that after 3 days and maybe 5 days, go back and check the status of your application. What may happen is when you log in and you check that, there may be a phone number to call. You may have been assigned a case number. The SBA may not be able to actually call you because they're just so swamped. We'll put you to call. So call the SBA, call that phone number, and you'll probably, I'm assuming, I don't know this yet because we haven't gone through this yet with a client, but I'm assuming that you will then be in touch with an SBA loan officer. Yes, Molly?
There you go, Jerry.
Ah, there it is. Okay, so the green button on the right, check application status. After you've applied and submitted your application, when you do submit the application, you should get some kind of a confirmation. Some people have gotten it, some people have not seen anything, but it'll bring you right back to this page. You should also have the ability to print the application form itself. So, and then just within 3 to 5 days, I just keep going, but I would recommend go back and check the application status just to see where you are in the queue. And the SBA has told us that they expect within 3 weeks to actually approve the loan. So from the time you apply and then you talk to an SBA loan officer, it should be 3 weeks later by the time the funding actually occurs. And you'll get notified that you've been approved for X amount of dollars, and then those funds will be distributed either monthly or quarterly directly to the applicant. So you won't get a lump sum. You'll begin to get monthly or quarterly installments.
And then Jerry, when after a business applies, they get contacted by that loan officer, and then that's when they kind of, for lack of a better word, start a negotiation. That's where Supervisor Garrison said that's that opportunity to say, you know, maybe the business only applied for 40,000, but they realized they should have asked for 50.
Right.
And where that's when you start talking about your collateral and your security, correct?
Yes. So the point is there, tell the story, tell the entire story of how hard you were hit and what's going on. That's, the SBA really wants to help. So this is, the objective is to get you the money you need to weather the storm for 6 months, perhaps longer. And after if this is still going on after 6 months, then you can always come back and reapply. So it isn't a done deal. It isn't like this is over with. You can reapply and you can possibly get more funds. So, but please do apply. That's the message. Is
Yeah,
even if you.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, I've been telling people routinely to apply. This having less than 4% interest for a term of 30 years, I recognize that, that they could end up paying in a significant amount over 30 years in interest potentially, but you're not going to see funds this affordable for a long time. There's no prepayment penalty and there's no obligation to accept it. So if you apply for it and it's a 3-week approval process, information is changing every single day. We're learning more about what's happening in Congress, what's happening locally. If there are better solutions that happen locally, they don't have to accept the funds, correct?
Right, they don't have to. You can always say no thanks. I don't want it.
So
That's
there's no harm to apply.
no harm at all, and there's no cost to apply. Yeah.
And I've had a lot of questions too about people saying, maybe they've had a professional or a personal bankruptcy in the last 7 years. Some of those things that really make you not a great borrower for a bank, or 3 months ago maybe wouldn't have made you a good borrower. The advice I'm hearing from you and Ruth Ellen and the SBA is to apply anyway, because
Yes.
if you get denied, then what happens?
Well, tell the story to the loan officer, right? And the reason behind that personal bankruptcy. It may be forgiven. You may get the loan anyway, but the story is what's important, to be open and honest. If you are denied, and the SBA says there will be some people that will be turned down, there are alternative programs. So if you are denied, then the SBA, someone from the SBA will reach out to you to offer you other solutions. So part of it could be that your credit is just really, really bad and the SBA just can't work around that. Well, then they're going to give you resources to go to repair your credit history. And then you can come back. You've got 6 months in which to come back and reapply for this after you've improved your credit score. There is the emergency bridge loan, which is not this one. It's different. The emergency bridge loan goes through lenders. We're still trying to it's an express bridge loan. That's a maximum of $25,000, and the credit score has to be 130. That's, they're accepting credit scores of 130 with a maximum amount of $25,000. It's a 7-year loan. That one goes through lenders. So it's a 7-year loan through the lender. There will be fees, but this is an alternative for people who get turned down by the SBA for this one. That may be an alternative.
So typically when we think of somebody with not great credit, we're looking at somebody in the low 600s, 500s. You're saying you can have a credit score as low as 130.
Right.
I want to reiterate that because that's very powerful.
Right. 130 for this express bridge loan. Now, again, a lot of the banks, lenders don't even know about this. This came out yesterday. Yeah, and so the banks are trying to get caught up, and we don't even know who the express lenders are yet. I'm trying to gather that information and determine which ones are the express lenders, and then that information needs to get filtered down to all of their loan officers. And unfortunately, a lot of these loan officers are sheltering at home. The bank offices are closed, so they're going to have to do this remotely as well. And so it's a learning curve for them. So just be patient on that from that standpoint. And then I think these are the resources. I mean, VV Rio is a tremendous resource in the Verde Valley. There are loan opportunities there. So if you get turned down by the SBA, it's possible that you could receive a loan from VV Rio. And so that's worth, and Molly, I know, sits on that board. So that's worth applying to them and looking at that as an alternative.
And if I may, I wanted to, yeah, I serve, you know, in my other, one of my other hats is I serve as a board member for the Verde Valley Regional Economic Organization. Throughout the Verde Valley, we have small business loan funds. Our executive director, Mary Quinn, is routinely receiving inquiries about that. Additionally, she's also a resource to help with some of the hand-holding through this process. Jennifer Wesselhoff with the Chamber also serves on this board, so we're very familiar with it. We have funded loans, we have funded businesses in the Verde Valley already, so we stand by to serve. But more importantly, that web page, www.vivrio.com, is a resource. I know that there are people on the call today that may not have a Sedona business, and you may want to log on to that website to talk to my counterparts throughout the Verde Valley and Camp Verde and Cottonwood and Clarkdale to get some additional assistance as well. And then I'd love it if Jennifer would, just kind of reiterate some of their information that they have on their website. They've got some of the most up-to-date information there at their COVID-19 bulletin website.
Thank you, Molly, for the opportunity to share that resource. If you go to sedonachamber.com, you'll see resources for businesses, resources for residents, and also our travel advisory in terms of what we're telling visitors. So information on that site includes restaurants that are currently providing takeout and delivery, the current status of the businesses. So any business, if you're open or closed, let us know. We're posting that. You don't have to be a chamber member to be listed on that. You can go to that page and click on the link to send us your information. We're updating that every minute of the day. So please use that as a resource to allow us to help your businesses during these very unprecedented times. Molly, there are some questions in the chat. Would you like to start from the top and try to answer some of those?
May I just interject one thing, Jennifer and Molly? The collaborative effort that's going on county-wide amongst all of our towns and communities and economic development officers, it has been absolutely amazing. We've got to usually have about 30 people on that call, and we're in the process of creating a Yavapai County-wide website. So that should go live next week, and it will have all the up-to-date information about this disaster and links to every community site and also job opportunities. Those are being posted on a regular basis. Companies are hiring, and so that information is also being posted. And thank you. This is the information. This is Ruth Ellen's contact information. She's working remotely right now. But you can call that phone number and it will be forwarded to her. Your message will be forwarded to her. And
that website too is key as well.
Right. And this is the rest of our team. And Catherine Anderson is our program specialist who's answering that main line for us right now.
And then here are the resources to myself and Samantha Eves and a link to our resource pages. But right now, I think we should just jump right on into some of these questions. I've been keeping a list of them, Jerry, and I'll just kind of read them off to you if that's okay. And
sure.
Between all of us on the call, I think we can get those answered. For those of you who have been continuing to come on, I've been muting you as well as your video, so there's nothing wrong with your Zoom. It's something I was doing just to control our bandwidth here. If you don't have the ability to send a question via the chat on Zoom, you have the ability to email it to PR. It stands for Public Relations, so PR@sedonachamber.com. So with that, Jerry, I'll just start going down the list, kind of firing these off to you. I feel like we're in an interview here. Let's see, I've already submitted my application. Is there anything I need to know in terms of follow-up?
Just go to that button depending on, if it's been 3 or 4 days, go to that check your status button on the disaster website and log in and see if there's any update.
Okay.
The SBA is apparently putting in phone numbers or maybe a case number, giving you a status update there. So check the application status.
If you are self-employed in a profession that the governor has deemed essential, as I am with massage, well, I'm quoting, as I am with massage therapy, will my voluntary closure affect my ability to receive these funds?
No, you're a small business. No, closure has nothing to do with it. Whether you're open and operating or you've closed, you can still apply because I would imagine your revenue is down, even though you're open. You're probably receiving cancellations, and so you've got loss of revenue. You've still got your ongoing expenses. You can still apply.
If I applied for unemployment before realizing the government would be providing these types of loans, does that impact my ability to qualify for loans?
Well, this is for business owners. So if you applied for unemployment, that tells me you're an employee. The DES is still trying to figure out, based on what's coming down from Congress, what the new rules are in terms of who qualifies and who doesn't. So we had that slide on here.
I did a short link to the IRS Gov, so whenever we distribute this link, but.
Right. So this economic injury disaster loan is for business owners. It's not for employees. There is a question about the unemployment insurance. Can a business owner who is a sole proprietor apply for the unemployment insurance? And I think that they are saying yes to that, but I haven't seen anything definitive in that area. So the best thing to do is check azui.gov and just see what the guidelines are.
There was another question about how long it takes for an application to get accepted. What we're experiencing is about three weeks, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
3 weeks from the time you've submitted the application to, 3 to 5 days to get in touch for a loan officer to get in touch with you. But 3 weeks from the time you've talked with a loan officer to the approval date.
What about vacation rentals? If you run a vacation rental, are you eligible to apply for these loans?
Yes, you can apply, even if all you do is rental properties.
And what I learned yesterday, it wasn't a question on here just yet, but I thought it was if you have an Etsy account, an online Shopify, all of those things can apply, correct?
Yeah, that's revenue. That's lost revenue. It's you've got ongoing expenses, as long as you have a physical presence. So your business presence, that's probably something you run from your home office. So your home address is your business presence. You just have to have a physical presence in the state.
And then once how long till you have money in the bank?
They're saying about 3 weeks.
So 3 weeks for approval, and then
3 weeks for approval, and then once it's approved, the funding should happen shortly thereafter. I mean, that's what we've been told. That's as much as I know.
So the question is, are we allowed to project anticipated profits on our P&L profit and loss statements that we submit to the SBA and don't have previous records from previous years? If we have independent contractors for our businesses, will there be relief for them and their loss of income?
Independent contractors can apply for the unemployment insurance.
Okay.
Yes. The SBA is not looking at projections, but if you're a new business, so you have no history, then that's all you have to work on is what your projections are. The anticipated loss of revenue because you were never able to actually generate any revenue is what you're going to have a conversation with your loan officer about. But this is a working capital loan to cover your business expenses. So it's a conversation. Yes, you can put those projections in because you really don't have any history. And then it'll be a conversation with the loan officer.
So if you're getting ready to apply, the best thing you can do is just understand what your next 6 months of expenses are going to be, whether you are a startup or you're an existing business. If you're an existing business, it's a little bit easier because you have historic data on that. Like
Right.
that's really what you want to be asking for. Okay.
Yes.
If we have already laid off employees, do we need to bring them back to apply for the loan?
No, you don't need to bring them back to apply for the loan. No. That would just be a reduction in your ongoing business expenses though, because you're no longer paying payroll.
Let's
If
see.
you bring them back though, if you do bring them back and reemploy them, then the CARES Act is something that is going through Congress right now. There could be some additional benefit to the employers if you keep your employees through June 30th of this year. So, but that's, we don't have, it hasn't been approved by the House. It's passed the Senate. It hasn't been approved by the House. That's once we know more about that, which hopefully will be next week, then there'll be more information to share.
All right. Jerry, can you touch on, well, I can actually answer this one. If
Okay.
your business has received a loan from VV Rio, the Verde Valley Regional Economic Organization that we briefly mentioned, is SBA willing to look at options that lend that work with VV Rio recommendations? I can just tell you from VV Rio, we at VV Rio are willing to work within SBA's guidelines. We're the ones who will be flexible within that. So if you do have an existing VV Rio loan, be sure to reach out to myself or Mary Shaquin. We put up that contact information. I'll put it back up again. At administration@vvrio.com, and we certainly will work with you on those. There was another question. I've got still quite a few questions here that we're going through. These are some really great questions. One was, your slide says you do not have to be denied by a conventional lender first, but the last webinar I attended said you did. Can you address that, Jerry? Because I know we've been
this economic injury loan is not dependent on being denied by a lender. That's the difference between the economic injury disaster loan and other disaster loans. So that's part of the misinformation that is out there. This loan is not predicated on having been denied by a lender.
Jerry, if a business is not located in Coconino County, obviously they should not apply with your SBDC in Yavapai County. They can go through can you tell us how they go through that?
Yeah, if you're in Coconino County, then you should register with the Coconino SBDC at Coconino Community College. I don't know their web address right off the top of my head, but that's Gina Couillard is the SBDC director there in Coconino. The same if you're outside of Yavapai County. If you're in Maricopa, there's the Maricopa SBDC, and you should register there.
It's worth mentioning this one again. I know we talked about it, but if a business owner, an S Corp, has personally filed bankruptcy, will it negatively impact their ability to get the loan?
I don't know the answer to that. And so what we recommend is just go ahead and apply. Again, there's no cost, there's no harm, there's no foul. You may get turned down, but you may not, because this is unprecedented times. I think what the important thing there is, what's the history, what's the story behind the reason for the bankruptcy? And if you can tell the story and explain it well enough, the loan officer may say it may get forgiven, but I don't know. The SBA is being very, very lenient with their guidelines on this particular economic injury loan.
The next question was, I've been in business since 2019, but don't have my Sedona business license in order yet. Am I still eligible? So what I always tell businesses is we don't have business license police, but we do want you to get registered with the city of Sedona. So if you do get this loan, we know that you will register your business with the city of Sedona, because we do want you to follow our city rules and regulations. But Jerry, that won't impact their ability.
No, this is a federal loan. It has, your status with your local city or municipality has no bearing on this loan.
Okay. let's see, how do we already addressed that. Can you talk about the nonprofit portion? There's been quite a few questions about nonprofits, and I
Yeah,
that's not necessarily your wheelhouse, but can you touch on it?
Sure. It's the same website. You go to the very same website. It's the same form, the SBA Form 5, that is used for nonprofits as well as businesses. It's just the difference is, as it's asking the question, one of the questions on there is, are you a nonprofit? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you what type of business are you? You check that box, and then there'll be some other questions to answer relative to nonprofits. So same form and same website. And if you need some help, if you need help kind of navigating through this, the SBDC is not, we're funded by the SBA and Yavapai College, our SBDC. So we're funded by the SBA and a host institution. But we are mandated to work only with for-profit businesses. SCORE, not society of, it's a retired executives, Service Corps of Retired Executives, is also funded by the SBA, and they are allowed to work with nonprofits. So there's a Northern Arizona SCORE that covers all the way up to the border of Arizona, and that you can certainly reach out to the SCORE office for assistance. And there's also United Way of Yavapai County that is available to help with nonprofits. And I think there are other resources someone else mentioned. I saw in a chat something float up.
Arizona Community Foundation was mentioned.
Arizona Community Foundation. Yes, there's some funds that have been made available for nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit, apply for this disaster loan for sure, but then check out the other resources.
There was a question, I think Supervisor Garrison brought this up, and we brought this up, and I believe it's been changed, but the application one person said during the application process, they did not see that they were able to enter in an amount.
I think, well, that's correct on that Form 5, unless they've updated Form 5, and I haven't seen an updated Form 5, but on Form 5, there is no box you check the economic injury box, but there is no box to put in how much money you want. That is going to be determined between the applicant and the SBA loan officer. There is, on the online application, a great big white text box that says additional information, and what we're recommending is that's where you can put in, my anticipated 6-month expenses are this, my anticipated loss of revenue over the next 6 months is this amount, and just put that in there. But it'll be negotiated between the applicant and the loan officer.
One of the questions in the application says, has the business or a listed owner ever had a guaranteed federal loan, ever guaranteed or had a federal guaranteed loan? Would this be referring to a student loan?
It would be a student loan, any federally. So if you have an SBA 7A loan, that's a federally backed guaranteed loan. If you got a 504 loan, that's also backed by the SBA, so that's a federal loan. And if you got a student loan, that's a federal loan. And so if you've defaulted on any of those in the past, that could be a reason for being denied. I'm saying could be. It's not a guarantee in this situation.
All right. Sorry, let me get my screen back up here. One of the questions was, I received an email on 3/21 that my application was received. They ran my credit. I still have not heard from the loan officer. Would you just redirect them back to that page to check on status?
I would, yeah. Check your application status, call the customer service number. I'm sure they're just inundated.
What about, does this loan go out for gig workers like Lyft and Uber drivers?
Yes, gig workers can apply.
All right, let's see. This one's kind of a longer question. I'm going to read it here. Our particular nonprofit is not required to file tax returns or 990s, and we explain this in our application. We also explain why the 4106 form was not applicable since there are no tax returns to retrieve. Yet when I checked our status, it stated that they were still waiting on those forms. You know, are we in a catch-22? What do you suggest?
I would call the customer service number, and I guess the question is, if you don't, are you a church? Are you a church or religious organization? That is one of those businesses that doesn't qualify.
For the
Okay,
nonprofit loan.
so if you are a church, that's a whole different status. That doesn't qualify. If you're a casino or an off-track betting, they don't qualify. Those are called sin businesses, so those are ineligible for this loan.
And sin, S-I-N, those sin businesses, that's the government term, not Jerry Dennis.
It's the yes, it's the government term. I'm sorry, it is exactly the government term. So if you are a dispensary, a marijuana dispensary, you don't qualify. The federal government can't lend to a marijuana dispensary. The SBA doesn't lend to gambling or casinos or off-track betting or churches.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for converting, so there's a few questions about the CARES Act. So I want to make sure we're not conflating the SBA disaster loan here, but so we're shifting gears for a couple of these questions.
Okay.
But the question is, you know, is this loan similar to the forgivable loan? If we are converting a loan to a grant, you know, how do you go through that process? And I just don't know that we have those answers.
We don't have the answers. This isn't similar to the forgivable, what's called the forgivable loan under the CARES Act. If the CARES Act goes through, this is totally separate. This is the SBA U.S. Treasury that is giving you a 6-month working capital 30-year fixed loan. If the CARES Act goes through, then there are provisions within that CARES Act that says if you maintain your employees through June 30th of this year, 100% of the disaster loan may be forgiven. Or if you don't, if it's only a certain percentage of your employees, instead of 100% of payroll, you had to lay a third of them off, then the CARES Act may forgive a certain percentage of that loan. So if you got a $100,000 loan and you had to lay off half your staff, then maybe they forgive 50%. So now you're only on the hook for 30 years of 50% of $50,000 instead of $100,000.
Okay.
But I haven't seen that has gone through. That is, you know, that's part of this package that we're also waiting, unless Randy knows something more than I do. I haven't heard that has been approved, and then if it has been approved, the next step is, how does it get implemented? We don't know that yet.
And I will say, I mean, I know how diligent Jennifer Wesselhoff and her team at the Chamber are working. I know how we're all working right now to roll out this information. As soon as we know what the actual facts are and how the mechanisms in place will work, we will try to distill that information for you as soon as possible and probably organize another call like this.
Right.
Jerry, what happens if somebody applies for the loan, but they're still unable to keep on all their staff employed, even if that's part of their expenses? Is keeping their staff employed a requirement of the loan?
It's not a requirement of the loan. If you have to lay everybody off, that's just the reality, and then they should apply for the unemployment, because my understanding is part of this $2 trillion package includes provisions for extended unemployment benefits and no penalties to the employer so the employer will not have to pay those payroll taxes and those unemployment taxes. That's getting deferred 2 years. So again, that was that website, AZUI, I think, unemploymentinsurance.org or .gov. And so that's a website you should check for what are the details on this. But that is part of what the federal government is also pushing through. And we just have to have some patience, because I know that, you know, we've heard that some employees have gone and applied for unemployment insurance and were denied. Well, they didn't tell them that it was COVID related. If you apply for unemployment insurance through the unemployment office, tell them it's COVID related. That's number one. And number two, then the employer is also may still right now, because it's also fluid and the office doesn't know how to process the paperwork. The employer may get hit up for the unemployment payroll insurance, but that's supposed to get forgiven and deferred for 2 years. So it's going to be a little up and down, I think, until we can get it all smoothed out and everybody knows how to implement all of these changes. There's just so much change going on right now. And when you get it down to how do we actually apply and how do we actually implement this, that's the piece that is still under construction, I would say. Except for this disaster loan. That exists. That process is working right now. It's slow, but it's working.
Do we have, or do you need a P&L, profit and loss statement, or a balance sheet, or tax returns to apply?
You don't need those to apply. They will probably be asked for when you speak with the loan officer, but that was a change that occurred as of yesterday. You don't need to upload that information. You just need to fill out those two forms, Form 5 and that P-106, I think it is, or 11019 or something like that. Those two are the only forms that are required to apply, but we recommend if you have if you have your 2019 tax return, great, have it on hand. If you don't and you haven't completed that, then at least get the first quarter's P&L and balance sheet. They're going to ask you for that probably, and you'll need it anyway. I'm sure you're going to have to fill out a personal financial statement, and you are going to have to fill out the 4506T.
So I've got about 15 more questions, so I'll just keep ripping through this. It looks like it's about 11:05. I feel like we're answering these are some really good questions, so thanks to everybody for sending those. Will SBA consider loans to a business with a tax lien that is in a formal payment arrangement, but in good standing?
What the fuck happened to this?
I don't know. That's between the SBA and the company. So apply. That's, if there are any questions about that, rather than try to figure it out, just apply.
Are there any grants available right now? I know that there may be some, but right now, do we know of any?
Not through the SBA, we don't know of any grants. But the USDA may have some. And that was I did see something float up about agriculture businesses. The SBA has relaxed their guidelines there. I think there's some agriculture that could qualify. So I'm thinking of like a small farmer, a first-time farmer, that's doing farming on like 2 acres or something. The SBA you may be able to apply under the SBA disaster loan, but the USDA also has disaster loans and grants available for first-time farmers, for small farmers, rural communities, for single-family and multi-family homes. Those are the only grants that I know of is through the USDA, not through the SBA.
Okay. As a reminder, if everybody can just keep their stuff muted, that would be very helpful. Let's see. Can a sole proprietor, independent contractor apply for both unemployment and an SBA loan? And how would that affect either one of those applications?
I would apply for the SBA disaster loan. A sole proprietor can apply for unemployment if you have, because you're not an employee. Although that's fluid too, that's changing. So you may be able to apply for unemployment insurance even though you're a sole proprietor. Right now, the latest that I've heard is if you've structured your business, even if you're an LLC, if you structured your business such that you are taking a salary, you are paying payroll taxes, then you can apply for unemployment insurance, even if you are an owner of the business. But if you are not structured that way, you're registered as an LLC and you're just taking an owner's draw, you're not considered an employee. But again, the federal government is relaxing and extending the unemployment insurance benefits. So visit the unemployment center, that azui.gov, to see what the guidelines are. They may say sole proprietors can apply. Whether or not you can do both, I don't know. But you're a business owner, I would apply for the disaster loan. I'd do that first, and then I'd go check the unemployment website.
We have a question about yearly income. My husband is a primary applicant. Besides our business, my husband also works for another tour company. He was laid off. Should I put his income from that tour company as his yearly income and income from our company as my yearly income?
So that would be more on the personal financial statement that isn't asked for in this. So they're on the application form, they really want business revenue. So he was an employee of a tour company. That's more looking for unemployment insurance. If she runs the business, then it's, you know, what is the income, not your personal income, but what's the income from the business? How much revenue is generated from the business?
Okay. On application form 5, line 15, they're asking for physical loss. How do you enter revenue loss?
You can't enter revenue loss.
Okay. Are there
It's
any
not a
reasons-
revenue, it's a working capital loan. They're not looking at loss of revenue. They're looking at what are your expenses. And that physical loss is also related to disaster.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you know of any reasons right now off the top of your head, this is a question, this isn't one for me, that loans are not being approved?
I don't know the reason the loan isn't being approved. The SBA has some guidelines as to what's acceptable. So they do say the credit history has to be acceptable. So what does acceptable mean? I don't know. I have no reason why you would be denied. I don't know the reasons that the SBA would deny, but I would, and I'm not even going to speculate. So the point is, apply. If you get denied, there's some other resources that we can help you with.
And, you know, advice I gave to a couple of people earlier this week who don't have, you know, stellar credit right now. Mostly the reason they don't is because of health reasons. A lot of people's credit takes a hit because of certain health complications. And I told this business owner that it was in their best interest to articulate that, because that's the story that goes back to the story that you're telling. It's not because you were, you know, buying shoes every day. It was because you were taking care of your personal health so you could have a quality of life.
Yes, and that's that additional information, that big white text box that says additional information. You've got 2,200 characters, I think, or something to put. That's where you tell that story.
All right. If we have business locations in Yavapai and Maricopa, should we register for SBDC in both places?
Depends on where your headquarters is located. If they're all separate business, so this is another one. If you are an owner of 5 different businesses, let's say, and 2 are in Maricopa and 3 are in Yavapai County, but you own all 5 businesses, where's the main headquarters location? Is it Yavapai County or is it Maricopa? If the main headquarters location is Maricopa, register with the Maricopa SBDC. We do co-counsel. So we will work collaboratively, and so we can co-counsel even if you're working with you. We can work with you on your Yavapai County businesses, and Maricopa can work on the Maricopa businesses. If you were the same owner on all 5 businesses, when you apply for the disaster loan, you fill out one application. If, however, you have other partners in each of those other businesses, then you need to fill out you need to apply 5 different times, one for each business, and then each partner in each of those businesses will also need to provide a personal financial statement.
Jerry, let's see. And yeah, it's so to reiterate to people on the phone, if you have more than one business, separate businesses, you can apply for a loan for each of your businesses. You aren't required to only one loan per person. It's loan per business.
It's loan per business. They've simplified. You can lump it all together if you're the same owner on all 5 businesses. If there aren't any other partners on any of the other businesses. If there are other partners on each of the other businesses, then the recommendation is that you apply separately. That you apply for each business that has a different partner, a different member of that organization should apply separately.
When determining your 6 months of expenses, should we be including our payroll taxes?
Yes, it's your overhead expenses, everything,
Payroll,
your utilities, rent, utilities, payroll tax, payroll, everything. What does it cost you to operate on a monthly basis?
Am I understanding it correctly that for an LLC, Form 413, the personal financial statement, must be submitted with the loan application for all members with over 20% stake and also the managing member?
Okay, so it's an LLC that has multiple members.
Mm-hmm.
And for each, you'll need a personal financial statement. You don't need it right now to apply, but you will need a personal financial statement from every member of that LLC that has more than 20% stake in the business. Perfect.
Thank you. What is the purpose of the SBA Form 5C? And does every business have to fill that out?
Form 5C is for sole proprietors only. If you're registered or you're set up only as a sole proprietor, not an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp, you use Form 5C.
And this is a question I know we've answered before, but it's again worthy to bring it up again. Many people have asked if you need to be in existence for over a year to apply. I've seen both yes and no, but the answer is
no, not anymore. As of March, as long as you were in existence as of March 13, you can apply.
There's a business, let's see, oh, sorry, never mind. Let's see. What dates do you use for gross revenue for 12 months prior to the disaster? And what do they mean by cost of goods sold?
12 months prior to the disaster is, just back up 12 months, right? It's March 1 of last year to March 13 of last year to March 13 of this year is the prior 12 months, or you could do the whole calendar year, January through December of 2019 as your prior year. And what do we mean by cost of goods sold? It's all of the goods it takes to produce your raw materials. What does it cost? It's whatever goes into that number when you fill out your financial statements. And your CPA should be able to tell you what those costs are. So if you build a product, your costs are everything it takes. Let's say you're a bakery, it's the flour, it's the butter, it's the milk, it's all the raw materials it takes to produce your products are your costs of goods.
Okay. Jerry, so one question is, I have a sole member LLC and I can't figure out which application to use, if I should file as a business or a sole proprietor. Is that delineated?
You're sole member LLC, you're an LLC, you file the Form 5.
What if a nonprofit has a for-profit subsidiary? Can they get the nonprofit loan at 2.75, or can they file twice, or?
I mean, I think you fill out 2 forms. You fill out one for the nonprofit, because the nonprofit has its own ongoing expenses, and that's that you fill out Form 5 for the nonprofit, and then you do another for the for-profit business.
And if you're
so you'd end up with 2 disaster loans if you got approved for both.
Great. Okay. If you're an LLC filing taxes as an S Corp, which one do you enter?
Same, Form 5.
Okay. Let's see. So I think I'm starting to get to the end of most of these questions. Let's see. At the very beginning, we mentioned paycheck protection. I think Supervisor Garrison kind of talked to us a little bit about that. I know it's not fully understood right now. Are there other approved programs specifically to supplement payroll?
I don't know what those might be. There are in process. They just haven't been totally approved yet. I mean, Senate's approved one bill. We're waiting for the House to, if they approve the whole package, there will be some payroll. There will be some benefit, some packages. We don't know what they are yet, unless the, Supervisor Garrison knows.
Okay. So we're starting to wind down here on a few questions. A lot of people have mentioned that, obviously I've been busy on this call, and so have you, Jerry, but that potentially Congress has already passed the CARES Act and how that'll impact. And so I think I can make a fairly blanket statement that says we don't know right now, but that will be a big part of our job to find out between the Chambers team, the city's team, and the SBDC. We will learn about that. We will distill that information and try to do our best to make it make sense. And then we'll get that out to our community.
Right.
And in the meantime, there's still no harm in applying for this loan. And while we're learning about how the other funds will work, you're in the hopper to get this loan. So all it does is just improve your chances, correct?
Yes. I mean, the CARES Act is separate, but it also supports this loan. Apply for this loan because the CARES Act is something that comes in behind and then can forgive the loan if you meet the certain guidelines. And the CARES Act also has some other provisions in it for unemployment, for employers, for employees, for people, for the Family Leave Act. I mean, there's a whole bunch of provisions in the CARES Act. So apply for this loan. That's step one. Just apply for this loan and start to get some, start the process to get some breathing room for the next 6 months. That's really what you want to do. And I saw someone is asking about the where do they apply?
Yeah, we've got a few of those questions. There's still a couple other questions too about, so Jerry, can you just give an example for a tour operator in Sedona, how they would determine cost of goods sold, their COGS?
Tour operator.
A very common question that you get, which is another great reason to become a client of the SBDC, because they're really good at helping you.
So yeah, so the cost of goods, I mean, you're a tour operator, which means you've got the vehicles, probably. Those are part of your costs of goods, the fuel that goes into those. What does it cost you to run the business if you're a tour operator? Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look at that line by line. We'd have to look at the financials line by line and determine what goes into cost of goods and what goes into other areas that are just ongoing business expenses.
Some of the questions says, should we include sales, general, and administrative expenses? Right?
It's, well, sales expense, yeah, because whatever you're spending to generate sales, whatever your overhead expenses are. So if you're paying a monthly fee for your website, if you're paying monthly fees, I mean, whatever your monthly fees are to run your business.
Yeah, that includes paper products, that includes your ink pens. I mean, everything from cradle to grave. If you're lucky enough to have toilet paper access, it includes you purchasing toilet paper.
All of that should be itemized in your P&L and your balance sheet. What are your expenses? Those are the expenses. That's what this is. This is a working capital loan to cover all of those.
Okay. Jerry, for a person who is self-employed and gets a 1099, not paying into state unemployment, do they qualify for unemployment? And I know, and I need to just kind of defend you here that you are not the unemployment expert, but you are plugged into it. So we always want to make sure we're driving back to the website for that.
Yeah, go back to the website. I think you probably will be able to apply for unemployment. I think that's part of the change that's coming down with extended unemployment insurance benefits. But you definitely can apply for this disaster loan.
So, I think we've answered most of the question. There's two pretty common themes that I think is gonna, and I asked, Jennifer to join us again too. There's a lot of questions about how and when the slides will be available. The other question is I think there's just questions on how we can just point a direct arrow to where to apply. And I don't know if maybe that's something, I know Ruth Ellen's online with the SBDC, maybe she can type that in too, but I just want to make sure that everybody leaves at least with that.
Yeah, and if you back up in the slides, it was on one of those slides, where to apply.
Of course,
It's
it was
just,
good like that. Great.
yeah. It's,
Wow.
I think it's disasterloan.sba.gov, something like that, but it's on one of those. How to apply. It's on that how to apply slide. There you go. disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. That is the website.
And so to and maybe it complicates it. Our intention was to not complicate it, but if that website is confusing and you want to just email me directly, we'll get you to the right place. If you want to email, any of your resources on the phone today between the Chamber, the City of Sedona, and the SBDC, we will constantly get you pointed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, Jennifer, for you.
Nope, that's fine. I'm just posting the link here. On this link here is where we will post this presentation, the recording, the PowerPoint. Also on the link that I just posted, sedonachamber.com/COVID-19 bulletin. You'll have the tips to apply. You have the link to apply. And you have resources there that will help you navigate this process. It is ever changing. It's changing very quickly. I know it's not easy, it's complicated, but you have a lot of resources available to you on the phone and also at the Chamber to support you during this time any way that we possibly can. So like I said, go to sedonachamber.com. As soon as we finish recording this call, and receive the final PowerPoint presentation, we will post it probably within the hour, and make sure you have the resources available to help you. We appreciate 180 of you being on this call today. I'm sure Molly and Jerry will be happy to stay on the line now if you have any further questions that have not been answered.
Sure.
We appreciate you all so much, and we're here to support you. We ask you to hang in there and support each other and be positive, and know that we're in this together. So thank you all for everything that you're doing to keep this positive and keep Sedona strong during this time. So thank you all.
Well said, Jennifer.
Very well said.
Okay.
I forgot there was another question, Jennifer, about, or I'm not Jennifer, Jerry, just a reiteration about, and maybe this is something we can do in our follow-up too, is how to apply, because of the application. Maybe it's worth just repeating because some people joined us late. Just the how, if the website's not working.
There are paper forms, so we have them. We have all the paper forms, and the paper forms are an alternative if the website isn't working. You just and if the website's not working, you can't download the forms. So if the website isn't working, contact us, and you can reach us at the phone number. If you call 717-7232, that's our main SBDC line. We're all working on our cell phones right now, so the office lines don't work, but the 717-7232 is answered, and we will send that information. You can also email Ruth Ellen directly at ruthellen.elinsky@yc.edu, or you can email me that, and we didn't include email addresses on there, but my email address is jerry.deniston@yc.edu. So ruthellen.elinsky@yc.edu or jerry.deniston@yc.edu. And we have the forms, so we will email those forms out to you if the website online process isn't working. And Ruth Ellen just put her email in there. So that would be something to add to the slide, is our email addresses.
For the next, we'll host quite a few of these, so we'll update.
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions. Oh wait, here's one. Do you know if you can apply for the loan if you're a business owner who is not a U.S. citizen or green card holder? I have an E2 investor's visa.
As long as it's if you have a legitimate legal, if you are resident and legally authorized to do business in the United States, I believe you can. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You can be, but I think having a green card is preferable. As long as you have authorization to do business in the United States, I believe you can apply for this. It's worth applying and finding out.
Okay. And Jerry, I mean, you and I have talked offline about this, and I want to make sure I understand it. It's my understanding it's always better to apply, because if you are denied, sometimes there's usually another solution. It may not be as great as 30 years at 3.75% interest,
Right.
but they sometimes come up with a different offer.
Yes, exactly. There will be other solutions. And that's part of what the SBA is pulling together as well, is what are some of these other solutions for those that are denied.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that too. I mean, that's part of what we're going to be looking at as well.
Well, I encourage everybody who has applied or is applying or has applied to certainly just let us know. You have our contact information. If you can send it to me. Let us know that you are applying and let us know what your experience is. Because this is all happening right now, and what your experiences may help us to guide other people as well. So we certainly, this is a time where we're going to rely on your experience as well.
Molly, I did see someone ask a question about how do I register with the SBDC.
Oh, yeah.
If you just go to yc.edu/SBDC and scroll down underneath the great big picture, you'll see a big blue button that says ask for counseling assistance or something. I don't even remember what the words are, but it's a blue button to
help.
ask for help. Okay. Thank you. Just go there, hit that button and fill out the form, and that gets you into our confidential database. And then one of the team will reach out to you. We're trying to do that within 24 hours.
Great. All right. And I'm not seeing any more questions. I just need to share a big thank you to my friends at the Chamber and at the SBDC. You guys, you guys are fantastic. I really appreciate this. I'm really proud to have you guys as our SBDC representatives in Sedona. I have worked with a lot of SBDC teams in my career, and you're the best. And I'm really proud of how well we're responding and getting information out here in the Verde Valley. I don't know that other areas around the state are doing it quite as well as you are.
Well, thank you. We're working hard. It's a great team between Ruth Ellen, Karen, and myself. I mean, we're working hard to support everybody, and the partnership with you guys is fabulous. So that helps us as well. So thank you.
Oops, let's unmute our fearless leader.
Thanks, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and end the meeting now. You do have the resources available to you if you'd like to email pr@sedonachamber.com or email any of the city contacts that are on your screen. I'll leave it up for just a minute longer so you can take that down. And we will go ahead and post this information immediately to our sedonachamber.com website. Please know that we're here to support you, and don't hesitate to call or email any of us. We want to be here to help you make it through this. So Jerry, thank you. Molly, thank you. And we'll be in touch. We'll do another one of these as soon as we learn more about the CARES Act and how we can help you navigate that process. So everyone,
absolutely,
be safe out there, and have a wonderful weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
See you.